Hello, Mr. CFO and Mrs. VP of Strategic Planning. My name is Bruce Arau, and I am here to present my analysis of the CyberKnife investment. For starters, CyberKnife is a form of robotic radiosurgery, a non-invasive, non-surgical treatment in which high doses of focused radiation beams are delivered from multiple locations outside of the body to destroy a tumor or lesion within the body. It is capable of full body targeting, requires no sedation or anesthesia, and typically involves only 1 to 5 sessions per episode of care. The next best option requires 40 to 45 sessions, which requires multiple weeks of treatment. To ensure every CyberKnife treatment is successful, a patient must undergo a full episode of care. This includes 3 CT scans, 1 prior and 2 after treatment, to find and confirm the tumor or lesion has been removed. And 25 to 50% of patients also receive an MRI to identify additional detail within the body prior to treatment. Each CT scan requires a doctor to consult on the results, and there's also a physician fee for each CyberKnife session. The idea of purchasing a CyberKnife came up after some honest discussions with our radiation oncologists. They view CyberKnife as the future of the industry and that patient volume will follow whichever facilities have a CyberKnife. They worry that without having the latest technology, that we may lose patients to our competitors who offer CyberKnife treatment. I know you both have also mentioned that you're concerned that our physicians could set up their own facility around a CyberKnife. I want to remind you that currently we own 15% of the market, and that ranks us third out of fourth in the field. We aren't the smallest, but we definitely are not the biggest. And so the addition of a CyberKnife has the potential to sizably increase our market share or lead to significant financial harms if we are not fiscally responsible. So, to forecast how the CyberKnife investment would impact our financial status, I created 3 different financial forecasts. One pessimistic, where we receive the lowest rates and have to pay the highest rates for any of the key variables, which I'll detail in a few slides. One realistic, where we receive the mid-range prices and rates. And one optimistic, where we are able to capture the highest prices and pay the lowest rates. But before I dive into the forecasts, I want to explain some of the key assumptions and variables that I found during my analysis. Since I unfortunately can't see the future, I know, how rude of me, I made some key assumptions about the future for all 3 scenarios. These are assumptions that I kept constant throughout each scenario as they allowed me to simplify the amount of complexity I faced. First, I assumed that the CyberKnife treatment will be priced as a bundle or episode of care due to the CT and MRI scans, doctor consultations that must go along with any CyberKnife treatment. Along with these services, I priced each bundle for 3.5 sessions or treatments out of the 5 total. Currently, other facilities are requiring 4 to 4.5 sessions per case, but I believe that with our expert oncologists, that we can handle most cases in less than 3. Health plans are currently looking for facilities that can conduct CyberKnife treatments for under 4 sessions, and I believe that by pricing ours competitively, health plans will drive their beneficiaries to our facility for more efficient care. As an aside, I want to acknowledge that our doctors may want to prescribe more sessions for their patients. So, to address this, I think we could create an agreement with health plans to tie financial incentives to lower fractions for doctors to ensure they are happy with prescribing fewer sessions. For pricing, I added up all the services in the bundle plus the price of a CyberKnife session times 3.5 and set them as a single price for a CyberKnife bundle package. This will be shown for each scenario. Next, between 2010 and 2021, radiology spending increased roughly 36% over 10 years, or roughly 3.6% per year. As such, I assumed that the price of the CyberKnife bundle would increase by 3.6% each year of all the forecasts. This allowed me to control for how the bundle's price will interact with the market over the next 10 years. Then, since we are conducting a 10-year forecast, and you, Mr. CFO, specifically noted that there should be no terminal value included at the end of the analysis, I assumed that the value of the CyberKnife would be 0 by the end of the forecast. As such, I allocated 10% of the CyberKnife's value to each year of the forecast as depreciation. Finally, there have been major disruptions in healthcare due to the US government's recent actions. However, none of the federal government's actions have been predictable, and we still do not know how these actions are impacting our services. As a result, for simplicity, I assumed that there would be no major disruptions in volume or services. Next, I want to cover the key variables that played the biggest impact in driving the results from my analysis. I'll cover each one and what they are here, and then showcase how they impacted the overall forecast in my next slides. The main variable that impacted the different forecasts was the cost growth over time. This is the rate of growth of the operating cost, or the cost to provide the CyberKnife bundle, per year. Just a 3 percentage point change in the cost growth shifted the forecast from a hugely positive return to a largely negative return. Secondly, the volume of bundles played a large role in the forecast. As you both mentioned previously, the 10-year projection in volume that Accuray provided was a bit unrealistic compared to our current market. I was not comfortable with their predicted growth in volume due to the scale at which I predict our CyberKnife could grow, since we are one of the first entrants in the market. As such, I created different scenarios following different potential growth patterns in volume. I believe that the CyberKnife will allow us to capture more market share, leading to increases in our volume every year, an assumption that Accuray did not make. However, two things I held constant in all three scenarios was, first, that in 2027, I estimated that a portion of our current external beam radiation therapy patients will shift to CyberKnife, as they would prefer fewer sessions and more advanced technology, but this would only be a one-time occurrence. In addition, I used Accuray's starting volume of 160 cases in the first year of CyberKnife operations for each scenario. Third, the price of the CyberKnife bundle, and specifically the price we can charge for each CyberKnife session, impacted the overall profitability of each forecast. Accuray provided us a range of prices for each CyberKnife treatment, and so where we charge in the range significantly impacted our overall profitability. Finally, although the CyberKnife comes with a 1-year warranty, I assume that in most scenarios it is better for us to pay for an additional 5-year warranty to ensure that if anything fails on the CyberKnife, we have insurance that Accuray will fix it. I added the 5-year warranty to both the realistic and pessimistic scenarios. However, this adds an additional $1 million in expenses to each forecast, and if the CyberKnife operates without fail, we could always look to remove this expense from the forecasts. First, in my realistic scenario, I priced all prices and expenses in the middle of their price range. For example, the price of a single CyberKnife treatment ranges from $18,000 to $28,000, so I chose to price it in the middle at $23,000. This allowed me to create a bundle price of $109,669. Then I converted the gross price to net revenue using the average collection percent for outpatient services, which is 38%. So 38% of 109,000 is 41,674. Then, using the middle of the range pricing strategy, I found that the cost of each bundle is $34,137. Which means we make money on each case. For volume, I estimated that since we are a new entrant to the market and will be offering a bundle that incentivizes a lower number of sessions per bundle, that we will be able to capture 10 new cases per year. Volume would be driven by the health plans who want their beneficiaries to access facilities that offer more efficient care, patients who are interested in the CyberKnife, and in 2027, I estimated that 20% of our current EBRT patients will switch. And I found that 20% from the low-end estimate that the director of EBRT gave me. For cost, I estimated that cost would rise with the rate of price growth, so 3.6%. Thus, prices and cost go up at the same rate, meaning that we can continue to earn positive revenue throughout the 10 years. Finally, I included the additional warranty as a precaution just in case anything fails. I prefer to be cautiously optimistic and would rather have the insurance and not need it than the other way around. In the optimistic scenario, I wanted to see what a base case scenario would look like for CyberKnife. I priced all the prices at their highest and expenses at their lowest. So I chose to price CyberKnife sessions at 28,000, which led to a bundle price of $129,204. Converting gross price to net revenue, I found that it would be $49,097. And pricing the expenses at their lowest, I found that each bundle would cost $31,912, which means we make even more money on each case as compared to the realistic scenario. For volume, I again estimated that we would be able to capture 20 new cases per year, a more ambitious projection. Volume would be driven by the health plans, patients interested in CyberKnife, and in 2027, I estimated that 30% of our current EBRT patients will switch to CyberKnife, and I found that 30% from the high-end estimate the director of EBRT gave me. For costs, I estimated that growth would rise slower than the rate of price growth at 2%. Thus, prices are going up faster than costs, leading to increasingly positive revenue throughout the 10 years, as shown in the cash flow graph. Finally, I excluded the additional warranty since this is a best case scenario, nothing goes wrong. In the pessimistic scenario, I went the opposite of the previous scenario and looked at the worst case scenario for CyberKnife. I priced all prices at their lowest they could be and still be profitable, and expenses at the highest of their price range. I chose to price it in this scenario at 22,000, which creates a bundle price of 97,000 and a net revenue of 36,000, almost 37,000. Then, pricing the expenses at their highest rates, I found that the cost of each bundle would be 36,172, which means we would barely make any money on each case. I chose 22,000 as the cost for each CyberKnife treatment because going any lower would lead to negative returns per treatment. For volume, I estimated that we would gain new cases per year, but at a lower rate of 5 new cases per year. Volume would be driven again by health plans, patients interested, and in 2027, I am estimated that only 10% of this current EBRT patients would switch. For costs, I estimated that costs would rise faster than the rate of price growth at 5%. Thus, costs are growing up faster than prices, leading to increasingly negative revenue throughout the 10 years, as shown as by the negative operating cash flow line in the graph. Finally, I also included the additional warranty since this is a worst case scenario. Everything goes wrong and we need the warranty to ensure the CyberKnife can still be operational even with operating failures. After mapping out the 3 different scenarios, I then discounted their values through a net present value analysis. I discounted each scenario's cash flows using a 10, 13.5, and 17% discount rate as a measure of low, medium, and high risk. Unsurprisingly, the optimistic scenario creates all positive NPV, even being able to pay the CyberKnife investment off in 3 years, while the pessimistic one creates all negative returns every year. In the realistic case, all 3 risk levels produce a positive return. I believe the appropriate level of risk is the medium scale, or orange, shown as orange in the chart, at 13.5%. While the CyberKnife has many risks associated, such as growth in costs, inability to collect higher payments, and weak uptick in volume, I actually believe there's more risk in not investing in the CyberKnife due to our small market size and the potential to lose even more patients without the investment. As I mentioned previously, CyberKnife drastically lowers the amount of sessions per case that a patient must undergo, and the fact that our competitors have not yet purchased a CyberKnife presents a key opportunity for us to leverage. Therefore, my final recommendation is to purchase the CyberKnife investment. I believe that my analysis of the realistic scenario shows that the CyberKnife can be a profitable investment. Even priced at a moderate risk, the CyberKnife earns over $1 million in profit over the decade. But what is more important is the opportunity to capture market share through support from the health plans. By offering efficient services at lower cost, I believe we can continue to optimize our services, leading to more profit generated per bundle. Then, as we generate more profit, we can potentially expand into another facility, lower our prices to capture even more of the market, and or invest in additional marketing to boost our recognition in the community. As we continue to expand, we will capture more of the market from our competitors, leading to an increased market share and likely spillover effects into our other departments. I believe in our people and predict that once we get more patients in to have one positive experience, we can continue to keep them here to access all the services that we offer. Finally, in addition to my forecast analysis, I believe that there are a few additional steps and risks that you should consider before purchasing the CyberKnife. First, you should survey community members that are currently receiving EBRT care and radiology staff to see if there is a demand. While I believe in my results, it always helps to have more voices in the room, and by engaging our patients, you could confirm that there is a demand that is ready and willing to come to our facility if we have a CyberKnife. Also, by engaging staff members, you could find out more about our cost growth and get a more realistic picture of how costs may increase over the decade. Second, I would market our facility as a safe space for the community. With the increasing uncertainty at the federal level, this could cause patients to be wary of receiving treatment during the next 4 years. As such, I would ask our marketing team to develop messaging that reassures the community that we will not deport them and we are here with our CyberKnife to offer them efficient and effective care for their health needs. This will hopefully ease their minds and ensure volume patterns do not slow. Third, I would also recommend meeting with different health plans to ensure they are on board with a bundle price that uses 3.5 sessions. While they have stated their interest in driving patients toward our facility, I believe it would be good to confirm their plans and ensure we are all on the same page. These next steps should help confirm or clarify the assumptions I made throughout this analysis and ensure my forecast is accurate. On the flip side, there are a few risks that I felt were out of our hands, but will significantly impact the CyberKnife investment. Firstly, I would caution you to be aware of the current uncertainty surrounding Medicaid and its future funding. While I controlled for this in my analysis, if the funding cuts pass, we may have to either significantly increase the bundle price to subsidize the public payers, or unfortunately turn away public payers. Either way, volume and pricing will likely be harmed. Also, while CyberKnife is currently the most in-demand procedure and technology, with the rate at which technology continues to improve, there's always the risk that a new technology will fundamentally change the market and leave the CyberKnife obsolete. However, since we have no way of predicting that, and I assume this new technology would need time to develop its reputation and demand, I avoided considering new entrants to the market. Once you have conducted these next steps, please let me know. I'd be happy to revise my analysis with further information and showcase a more realistic forecast of the CyberKnife investment. Thank you again for your time, and I hope you found my presentation informative.